Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam. Today is November the 19th, 2023, on the ancient moon calendar and 2024 on the ancient sun calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign living ancient, Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court Action. In accordance with the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this Holy Congress, we are the divine sovereign living justices, and ego sum, Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminution nolo in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capite et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the divine, original, indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Israelites, Hamathites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient, Islamic, Muslim empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We're ancient Washington District 4, Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earth-wide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today, we are exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, living United States District for Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, divine ministers, possessors, title beneficiaries, and title trustors for all causes for action. We are peace, we are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign divine ascension. We do hereby possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the true living God nation, are not at war, and we hereby exercise all eternal, ancient, original, sovereign, divine rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. The principles that we share are not our opinion. We have removed all dead actors from our minds, thereby freeing ourselves from presumed foreign bondage and enacted psychological operations. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these laws and processes that we share are based on principles of stare decisis, res judicata, ancient positive supreme law for the land, long established in sovereign order. Erudite principles and processes for daily practical application to intelligently govern our vast estate every day is what our ancient ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments at earth. And for this, we are grateful. Let us go ahead. We're going to go ahead and lock the meeting. Just one moment. And we're going to open the table for our discussion, Islam. So first and foremost, did everyone have the opportunity to view House of ReAwakening Minds this past Friday? It was a beautiful, beautiful. Yes, thank you. It was a beautiful presentment by.
It's a beautiful show.
Yes.
Taz put out some stuff as he was just going through stuff for the newly Moors.
Yes.
There's quite a few things, and one of the things he said within the next month, the banks are going to close down and so on, you know. So
yes,
was a beautiful show.
Yes. He can see, just like we all can see.
Speak up. The cult can't hear you, Kansu. Speak up. The cult can't hear you. The cult can't hear what you're saying, Kansu. You've been sick.
Oh, they're pretty mad about that whole banking piece. They're pretty mad about that. Yeah, it's not good. Not good where they're concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, go ahead, Justice Kansu.
Yeah, and like I was saying, Taj and Dr. G was a real good show. I stayed up all night listening to it, and it was just, I just couldn't find a word for it right now. But everything is, as you say, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And see, they couldn't wrap up until we did our part. So they were going to keep going until we said, okay, enough, we got it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening right now is we got it. They're sunset. They're, but again, it's at our word. But we had to demonstrate. Because see, the only place that they existed was on paper in the enactment. Only on paper in the enactment. So when we got our paper right, all of our paper, that's the money, that's the statements, that's even the corporate or company papers along with our affidavits. When we got that right, there's no place for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no place for them.
Go?
What is that?
Where they going to go? We don't really. I don't even know where they want to go. We don't really care.
Well, you know what? We actually do care. We want them in their status, proper status.
Yeah.
That's stop the madness, stop the monkey business, and get in status.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that their status is under our sovereign authority.
Mm-hmm.
We know that.
Well, they're going to have to get used to it at some point, or another way.
Justice Kansu, the ones that are good and, who know who they are and who are actually living in reality, those subjects, there's no problem with them. There's no problem with them. We don't have, we're not at war with them or anything.
September, Pauline. I'm still here, bitch.
We're not at war with them. They want war. Hear me when I say that. They want war. But if you don't give them war, guess what? Guess where they have to go?
Where is war?
And if we say no war at earth, guess where they have to go? In subject status under our sovereign authority.
Mm-hmm.
And see, some people did not think that we had the authority and the power to do that, but it's never been any other way. We've always had the power and authority to stop the war. It stops when we stopped it. And guess what? The moment we stopped it, guess what the fakes did? Declared war. They said, oh, quote unquote, Israel is at war. Well, that ain't the real one anyway. So that's proof that that's not the real one.
Mm-hmm.
That's proof.
I also want to say, when you hear the word Jerusalem in
yes.
that word,
yes.
it has USA in that word. And it also states that America has been one of the greatest nations ever lived.
Yes, yes.
For those, well,
You can't be talking about but one nation. Come on. You can't be talking about but one nation when you say that has ever lived, because we were living first.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's all good. We can just calm down and do what we do. We can just calm down. Thank you. We can just calm down and and continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing is absolutely what we should be doing.
Yeah, and that's getting them so mad. And for those who keep coming on the call and being the guests that they are, I feel at some point you won't hear from them anymore.
We know that they will stop coming when more stop letting them control their emotions and feelings and things and getting all mad about that. Because, see, they come for that energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason they come. Now, they know they don't have anything coming from us. They don't have anything coming. Let me tell you, they tried all kinds of stuff, calling my consort at all times of day and night. They tried to reach my empress and all of that.
But you said I was going away in September, Pauline. What the fuck?
They tried
what
all
the fuck, Pauline? You said I was going away in September.
They tried all of that. You see how
that ain't helping them at all.
Yeah, they tried all of that to stop us, to scare, to do all of that, and none of it worked. None of it worked. They know that their time is done. So it's all good. You know, it's all good. Because, see, we have to realize they're not talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
They can only speak to the dead. You can't come up out no grave and start talking to the living people around you. That's not how this works.
Mm-hmm.
So those who get upset about it, you still think that their voice is real. You think they're alive like you are. If they're upsetting you, I'm talking to you. Because we can talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they come for. Is anybody to validate them with feelings and emotions and anger and energy and fear and, frustration or, just, I wish they would just go away. They're not here in the first place if you really think about it. They're virtual. Come on.
Absolutely.
They don't even have a name that they want to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. That ought to tell you who's really scared. Because, see, all our stuff is out here on the public record. We know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So now, there's nothing. And see, our focus is not even them. And the only reason I'm taking this time is for those who have feelings about them pretending to be here. When you stop giving them your energy, they'll stop coming.
Mm-hmm.
They'll stop coming. When the Moors at this Congress stop giving them their energy, they'll stop coming. But see, how do you do that? You stay focused on the nation building. Stay focused on nation building. When you stay focused on nation building, who are they even going to pretend to be? They can't pretend to be a nation. They can't even pretend to be a person.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. But it's the energy of this sovereign living nation.
Mm-hmm.
Is where all of that started. Listen, them old virtual bots would love for folks to just be on here going back and forth with them. They would love that. Even energetically.
Mm-hmm.
We got real fish to fry.
Yep.
We got real fish to fry. So now, yes, Justice Consul, and let me just say this, I'm so glad to hear your voice. You sound strong. You sound ready to go. We just love it. We just love it.
And you put a pin on it, they can't turn nothing off.
Islam, Justice Dawood, state that again.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
I thought you were talking about them. But yeah, they can't turn nothing off. They can't do anything. No. Listen, if they could have stopped us, we wouldn't even be sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's show how we have muted them in our lives. We've muted them in our lives by creating and restating everything. And if we don't write them in, they can't come in. That's why they keep doing that. They want us to write them in and put it on the public record. We just won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Their only place is as subject. And that's where they're going to stay.
And so it is.
And so it is. And so it is. And so by restating everything and rewriting everything, I was just so, I was walking on cloud 9 when our great Empress, Dr. Nyala, and I pronounce her appellation Nyala because it has the name of God in it, because all matriarchs are God, and so are our sons. Mm-hmm. But when she showed that they did a ceremonial getting rid of the marriage contract and the birth certificate and all of that, the certificate of life, they got rid of all of that. They had a symbolic burning of those contracts. Mm-hmm. And then they held up, and I took a snippet. I hope I did not put their faces on here, their images here, just out of respect for them, because I had not asked her if I could use their images. But I did take a snippet of what our Grand Sheikh Taj held up from the matriarchs meeting in Atlanta that Empress Dr. Nyala went to. And unfortunately, we were not able to be there. But, I was just so excited to see this, because it's what we've been stating for a while, that all must do is restate those contracts. Restate them. And he held this up. It's just a beautiful document. People are where they are. We cannot tell sovereigns what to do, and we would never try to do that. We can just make suggestions. And as we see the ancestors manifesting through each one of us, it's happening. Mm-hmm. It's happening. We are all on the same page. We're all on the same page, all of us. With that being stated, when he held up the piece of paper that had the restatement of the marriage license and certificate of live birth on it, beautiful presentment, just beautiful. In fact, for those who did not see that, we'll put the link to it in the chat so that you can see what we saw. Mm-hmm. There's the link right there in the chat for the Moors to go and just look at that, because that's where we study from as well. That's one of the many, many, many places that we get our information, that we study from, that we, when Friday comes, if it's Grand Sheikh Tariq Bey that's going to be teaching, we are all ears, and we're all ears for everyone anyway. There's no respecter of persons there. And he's not a person, and neither are we. But, when he speaks, we listen, because that's that is the spell breaker who woke us up. When we first heard his speaking, he spoke the spell, and then in our spirit, we heard the spell, and we said, okay, it's time for us to wake up. So we really woke ourselves up, each one of us. We've all awakened ourselves. We set a clock before we came here within us in our truth center, that when we hear the truth, that we will wake up. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so that is we want to give great honor. We want to give great honor and praise and glory to Empress Dr. Nyala and our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey for all that they have done for our nation. I'm telling you, they've done much. And we are just excited that this presentment was presented as well. So with that being stated, even with this presentment, when he held up the paper, it brought me back to this definition of paper that we went over in the last Congress. Paper is described as an Egyptian reed from the inner bark, of which a kind of writing paper was made in ancient Egypt. So paper is ancient also. So anyone who's saying, it doesn't take that paper, I don't use the paper, I just speak. Yes, that's great. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that.
And
You're supposed
self-absorbed.
to speak. Just
Pauline's full of shit.
So when paper is ancient, it was made in writing paper was made in ancient Egypt. There it says it right there on the screen. And then you know,
as ancient as your snatch, Pauline, you ugly bitch.
Is the paper, a written or printed sheet of paper, a writing, any writing, a writing, specifically an official document. When we took back,
Where's Raisinetta, your IT person, Pauline? Where's Raisinetta?
When we stated our offices, okay, when we stated our offices, we stated them on paper, okay. That is a competent part of the officiality or the officialness or the validity that we demonstrate. So when we initially stated that, hey, we encouraged everyone to put the 40 plus documents on the public record, just put them on the record. If you can do it. This is why. Because it's the paper that makes it official. And the paper has to come from us, the officers and the office. And so negotiable papers, paper money, any paper that we create is money, any paper. And now number 8, we're going to focus on number 8 today. A free pass or free passes to any place of entertainment, also the persons admitted by such passes, as the house was filled with paper. A written examination, a report. That's report is a verb. It means go back.
You keep paying your mortgage with plain old fiat, Paul.
To the port of proper jurisdiction. Okay, so when Prophet Noble Drew Ali's trust talked about the Moors being put back at Morocco at birth, when we do what Empress Dr. Nyala did with this birth certificate, this certificate of live birth, she has reported back to the land. She's reported back to the land, and then her agreement with her spouse is reported back to the land and not floating lost at sea like we all thought we were, you know. But it has to be at our word, so I'm just so grateful for that presentment. And then number 12, as we stated before, documents, paper. This is the definition of paper. Documents proving the identity of a person. No dead entity, and this is what we're saying about those who come in and they say, you know, Pauline, this, that, and the third. They don't have the authority to identify us. That's why we don't worry about it, because it's like them talking to it's like a monkey coming to the door and speaking monkey speak, trying to identify the living master, which we all are, the living masters. Well, no, monkeys can't do that. We identify them. And if we want to change their name from monkey to gorilla, we can do that because we have dominion over that. Overall, documents proving the identity of a person. And we know we're not persons, but Pauline Denise Ritchie is a person that I created, so I tell her what to do. I am the God for Pauline Denise Ritchie. And for all persons, we all are the gods for all persons, all of us. Credentials, that means credibility. Which is another way to say truth. Truth. And then it says a collection of documents, letters, writings, etc., especially of one person. So the Apostle Paul he was a writer. He wrote papers, and all of the apostles did that. The apostle and apostille is the same word. So they were all attorneys and they were all Moors. Not a single one of them was modern. The true Biblios is ancient. And we have something that we can show you regarding where the modern ones got the names that they call themselves. Because what we didn't realize is that we know we're Moabite, Canaanite, Israelite, Hamathite, etc., etc. We're all of those. While we were in our sleep, they had assumed those identities. If I may take a moment just to prove that. I pulled up, I'll just take a moment to prove that they were pretending to be the nations and the people. I pulled up this book right here, Holy Bible, and it says, placed by the Gideons. That means they didn't write it. They just revised, because they say they revised it. And we'll show you that. Now, who do they say they are in this book here? Let's show you who they say they are. First, let's show you that it was a revision of the original. It said this is in the very beginning of this book. The Holy Bible, that's in black ink and all capital letters, containing the Old and New Testaments, translated out of, that means they took it out of the original tongues, which are ours, because whenever you hear the word original, it's always talking about us. And with the former translations, diligently compared and revised. The root word of the word revised is vizier, as in scribe, judge, justice, writer, the one who scribes something, which is also relative to the word scripture. And then it says, commonly known as the Authorized King James Version, and they put King James in parentheses. Why? Because it's not the real one. They're not even talking about a real King James, because there is no King James that doesn't look like us. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a king that doesn't look like us. No such thing. Doesn't exist. And they know that. So when they write, they put these words into what they're saying. And if you know how to read, which we all do, commonly known as that doesn't mean that that's really what it is. This is what the masses of those who have to take something out of the original so they can use it. And they can't take it out without our permission. Just know that. And then when you see something in the Masonic order called the light bearers, the symbol is Gideon and the light, a lamp. A lamp with handles on two sides. That means whoever on the left can pass to someone on the right, and whoever's on the right can pass it to someone on the left. And we know the story of Gideon. Gideon had a large army of about somewhere around between 26,000 and 32,000 persons in the army, in Gideon's army. And the Spirit told Gideon, anyone in this army, first the Spirit said this army is too big for what we're trying to do. The army is too big for what has to happen. So the Spirit told Gideon to look at the army, take them down to the water, and watch how they drink. And anybody who puts their head down and doesn't look up and stay looking at what's around them, tell them to go home. And he did. And then he said, and I believe he said first, anyone who is afraid, send them back home. So ask them, anyone who's afraid, send them home. And thousands of them left. And the Spirit kept weeding out Gideon's army until it came down to only 300 brave, bold, competent justices. 300 to supposedly fight an army of thousands and thousands and way more than 300. And what happened? They didn't have to fight. All they had to do was carry their lamps and their trumpets, smash the lamp, blow the trumpet, and that means make some sounds, and everybody sound the same. And when everybody sounds the same, what happened? The enemy armies, quote unquote, turned on themselves and started killing each other until not one of them was left, which is just exactly what has happened. So those who, listen, this is not hidden from us, that everything that they did was a revision of the original. And all we're doing when we restate marriage licenses and certificates of live birth is putting it back with the original, back in the original tongue. No matter how you write it, it's the original tongue because it comes from your original mouth. Islam. So we were just elated, and Empress Dr. Nyala, she does not disappoint. Every show that she does is amazing. Those that she has on there, we can learn something from everyone. So again, restating all documents that claim to identify you is the key. Because, see, the benefits are already yours. They just have to be papered properly and identified properly. That's ancient. That paper was used to identify. No foreigner can do that for us. We do it for ourselves. Now, when we talk about paper and certificates of live birth and social security numbers and all of that kind of stuff, okay, we know that, again, no foreigner can assign that to us. We must do it. First, our lawful paper. And I have a question for this Congress. Are your nationality documents, are they considered public documents? Are nationality documents considered public documents? Islam nobility.
I can say this is a record.
Say that again, nobility.
I can say they're on the public record.
That's true. That is true. And because they're on the public record, does that make them public documents?
They are not public documents.
No. If they're on the public record, are they public documents?
No.
That's the question. Okay. Why do you say that, Empress Aisha?
Okay, I'm changing that to Empress Taylor L, okay?
Empress
Taylor L.
Taylor L, Islam, Empress Taylor L.
I say they are not public documents.
Islam. That is correct also. See, we're the only ones who can have it both. We can have our cake and eat it too. We're the only ones who can do that. We'll prove that to you. When we first do the documents, they're done, we do them privately because that's how we do them. That is something that is private and near and dear to our hearts, our nationality, our statement, okay? We state it within our state. And then when we put it on the public record, it becomes the law. So it is actually public on the public record, but it's still private because you hold the original in your hand, in your possession. That's part of your private possession, but the law is always public. The law is always public. And you know what? Here's the thing: the protection is actually in the publication of your document. Protection is there. Because then you start talking about things like international law status on the public record. The Constitution, the treaties, all of that is public for everyone to see. And we're going to define public here shortly so that we can state and know with clarity what that's about. Islam, Empress.
Islam, I was going to say something. The documents are public, yes, so because the public can view them, but they're not able to use them in the way that they were able to use those documents before, such as the birth certificates and the Social Security. They're not able to use them or access anything without our consent and affirmation. Islam.
And believe it or not, they can't access anything with it anyway because it's not the species that they are that was in the last era. It's not the species. That's absolutely, we affirm, Empress Karima. We affirm that. It is these fine lines in our information that is so important for us to know and to state and to continue to emphasize for our heirs and for others. Is the difference between public and private? Yes, but you know what? In the last era, nothing was private anyway. In fact, everything was private, supposedly, in the last enactment. However, they would kick the doors in whenever they got ready because they claimed everything private in their enactment. And so now, for us, everything is public, all land, all natural resources, all commerce. But see, public for us is specific. The root word of specific, see, public doesn't mean what it meant in the last era. Public does not mean that everybody can come along and poop on whatever is out there. That's not what that means. That's animal husbandry public. That's not the nobility public. The nobility public means that it is taken care of and it is created by the government, and the people have use of it with the proper systems in place. That's why it says here a free pass or free passes to any place of entertainment. And of means without, that just means any place with the right documentation proving the identity of the person. So now we're talking about, let us further emphasize the paper of a person. So our national identification is not for persons, that's people. Those are people documents and God's documents. Those are God's documents. Just like gold is God's money. You know, you hear even the subject saying that. So where then does the nationality documents, or rather, we know where the nationality documents come in at. Where do the driver license and the birth certificate and the marriage license and all of that stuff that we, like when I first nationalized, I thought that we had to just get rid of and burn those. No, we recreate them, restate them. We restate them because in reality, the documents that we had were not real documents. They were not. So we go to the U.S. Department of Justice website, quote unquote, and we look at Article 1508, which is 18 United States Code 1028. And the first word here is specifically. That means it has to be the right species in order for this to be applicable. Just one moment, let me straighten this out. It has to be the right species. When you see the word specifically, they're saying whoever creates it, that's what makes it applicable. And so it says here, these three documents in the absence of a national identity card are the prime means by which an individual establishes his identity in the United States. Notice it says that not any foreigner establishes your identity, you do. We do. We establish the identity of our person, Islam nobility.
Yeah. Also, if you go up just a little bit in the browser, sort of, could you scroll up a little bit? I was just make it larger. I mean, smaller so we can see the whole thing. Well, right there it says you just want people to know that this is a criminal resource document.
Until we state otherwise, yes. And here's the thing, you're right about that. You are absolutely correct about that. When they say criminal resource manual, if you are using someone else's documentation, a foreign document to describe who you are, that's criminal. That is criminal. We were never supposed to be, and that's why they can pull you over for a busted tail light and throw you in jail whenever, in the past, in their enactment.
Jail.
Yes.
Islam?
Because it's criminal from the very beginning. Islam nobility.
This is also why we were considered in our citizen person resident status while we were asleep. And we were claiming to be U.S. citizens, claiming to be all those things that we were not, part of the dead.
Yes.
Why you were considered an enemy of the state. You were an enemy belligerent.
Yes.
Because you were an enemy of your own natural state.
Yes.
You're an enemy of the republic that we were supposed to be governing.
Yes.
So, they treated us like enemies because you were, until you wake up and figure out who you are and do something about it. It's not enough just to know, but you must take action. Islam.
Yes. In that enactment, they did all of that as actors. Because why? The gods were acting like citizens, quote unquote. U.S. We were acting like that. Islam, Empress Cynthia. Islam. Indeed. And so now, in the presence of an identity card, you can do these documents here and access your vast estate using the systems and not be violated. And not be violated. These only existed. If you look at what they're really saying, they're saying that in order for them to create a national ID card, just one moment. In order for them to create a national ID card, they had to it had to be in the absence of a national ID. And then they said, okay, we have all of these nationals, and none of them have a national ID card in the last enactment. So we have to issue them birth certificates, driver's license, and personal identification cards under a criminal code. Under a criminal code. Justice Akil, that's a great catch right there. And again, that means that they're being issued in a wartime setting. Wartime setting. So when we see Moors who are restating and properly stating birth certificates, driver's license, personal identification cards, so that they can access their own vast estate that way without being molested and violated, all of heaven rejoices. All of heaven rejoices for that. So, Islam, Empress.
It also says non-federal. So when we did our federal licenses, it's contrary to what this is stating, which is the antithesis on purpose, because we are the federal, because they can only issue non-federal, was given them preferred treatment in absence of the national identification card and primary means by which an individual establishes his identity. See, it says, by which individual, which we are the people, establishes their own identity in the United States.
Yes.
Because we got to do that, and we've done it.
Yeah. And we actually couldn't do that in a dead United States, which is why we went ahead and created the living United States, and we didn't create it, we just manifested it because it's always been. We've always been the original indigenous states united, the Islamic Muslim United States for America. Always been that. And so now we've got not just the federal level of the onion taken care of with declaring nationality and the universal and the original national and all of that. We have all of that taken care of. Just one moment. We got all of that taken care of. And we also have the state and city and all of that taken care of by restating these documents. We have all of that taken care of. And it's something we had to do. No one else could do that for us. And then if you look here, a birth certificate is not even defined in 18U.S.C.1028 since it is self-explanatory. That means you self-govern with a birth certificate. But it's the one you create. Because if you try to self-govern with someone else's foreign birth certificate, claiming it to be yours, then no. They get to say what happens with you. And that goes for certificates for live birth. That goes for marriage, and we don't call it marriage, we call it matrimony. Matrimonial documents as well. But again, we can call it whatever we want to call it because we self-govern. So, yes, indeed, Islam. Just one moment. So now, with that being stated, they say specifically here, because they want to, they put it in white letters. They say specifically mention identification documents. Okay, that means it must be species specific. It must be specific according to the species. It must be a gold-backed birth certificate. It must be a gold-backed driver's license or species driver's license, gold, silver. That's why we went ahead and introduced the driver's license process for this very reason right here, because a driver's license is not a bad thing when it's properly and specific.
And still you don't have a free Range Rover and no cell phone, sir.
So now let's go here a little further. Species and specific are the same word. And we know that all law is specific. The public is specific to her creator. So we as the public had to create.
Has anybody eaten for free at Red Lobster? No.
So the public is specific to her creator. We are the public that we created. We are the people who are governed by the government because we created the government and then we created the people. That makes it specific. Moorish sovereign Allodium is also public money from the public treasury. Why is this important? It's important because we are not bound by U.S. debt notes, and we can still access everything on our land when the building is properly named, or the program or the process or whatever it is. The concert venue, the restaurant is properly named as public by the living public. So whenever I go into some place, I'm the public coming in there. I'm also the government, though. We all are. We all are. And so public treasury
Why don't you go back to Mercedes and Tacoma then? Go to Mercedes.
So the public, anything that's public, and that's any place that you can just walk in because the door is open, is public. Any land that you can go and just go, it's public. The public goes with you because it's jurisdiction. Okay.
Just walk in and pick up that Range Rover.
So the government jurisdiction and the public jurisdiction, even though they are different jurisdictions, they're contained in us at the same time. So we brought up the thing about a building being properly named as public by the living public, and that's based on the address and who has stated that address. So we must properly state. So when we do our lien, all we're saying is no private corpse can claim whatever that is, whatever the benefit is, whatever the building is, whatever the property is, no matter what it is. We're stating that that it's first claimed by the sovereigns because it's ours. Then it's claimed by the government, which is us, because the government can do that. Because we govern everything competently and properly, according to the Constitution and the treaties. And then we say, okay, now the United States for America is governing things. Again, all of this is contained within us. And so let's say Red Lobster, for example. I'm so glad that came up. They're not talking about the same one we're talking about. There is...
The ancestors are saying credits are just electronic fiat.
So let me just show you something here on the screen.
You shall always be bound by credit, says electronic.
And so Islam. And so any restaurants, any of that stuff must, when it's properly identified, okay, then there is no adversary there, okay? No matter where you go, and that's why we send our documents ahead, because no matter where we go, we can participate in everything that's available. So let's take a look at the definition of public building from Black's Law Dictionary. This is the definition. Public building, one of which the possession and use as well as the property in it, and that's an important key there, as well as the property in it, and property can be persons. Persons is property, are in the public. Okay? So any building held...
Why aren't you going and doing this yourself, Pauline? Go do it.
Any building held, used, or controlled...
Quit telling your sheep to do it. Go do it yourself, you dumb bitch.
Any building held, used, or controlled exclusively for public purposes by any department or branch of government.
Anybody else notice how Pauline never...
Any branch of government, state, county, or municipal, without reference to the ownership of the building or of the realty upon which it is situated. Now, listen, they're saying, again, that something has to be missing in order for their definition of a public building to be valid. You have to remove who really owns the building and who really owns the land under it. That is why, and see, that's the nationality part of anything that we say and do. The nationality part is the land and the ownership of the building. So all they're saying is, for a building to be public by them, You can't talk about ownership, and you can't talk about the land that is situated on. And for us, we know that's the part that was hidden, is who really owns the building and who really owns the realty upon which it is situated or that it sits. That is why attaching an affidavit on Moorish government letterhead with court action language to anything you send out is so important. Because then when you put possession and use, as well as the property in the building, in place along with ownership and the land that is situated on, you cannot be told no by any foreigners because they don't own the stuff. Islam.
So what you're saying is definitely right. So here in New York territory, we look up property on acreage, which is supposed to be their fictitious land management here, where you find out who owns the property, record keeper. Mm-hmm. So I was looking up one of the so-called government buildings, and it has nobody on it. Like nobody, no deed, no nothing on it. It's nothing on it. It's like it has no information. But when you look up the property regularly, like on Google, it has a real estate agency that's listed. Mm-hmm. So sitting here thinking about what you just stated just now, it was like, if this is a government building, who the hell do we contact, or to notify about it when there's nobody, no owners, no identifying person that state that they own the building?
Well, that's wide open for you to properly state who really does own the building and who really does own the land under it. That's why restating it is so important. And right now the systems are clearing things out so that we can put our restatements on the public record and then go and be and do.
Yeah, and you're definitely right about that. I totally agree, and that's why it's blank right now. That's why, something just told me to look up even City Hall, 253 Broadway, which these actors are claiming offices in. Like when you look it up on acreage on that record place, there's nobody on it. It's like it's free and clear, ready for. They basically preparing for us to come because they know what we're doing because we did a couple of properties already. So and that's why I wanted to give the good news. I think I texted to you. So I said one of the good news is that one of our heirs here in New York territory got kidnapped, and he placed all his documents on the public record, did everything from restating a deed into a Allodium title, did a Allodium title, clear perfect Allodium title, that's what we did, and did the bond and everything, and he put it he gave notice to the acting county clerk office, and they kidnapped him like a couple of days after that, and then he just came out because they couldn't say that he wasn't the owner. He proved
when they do that is just
Allodium is dead on arrival. The fiat is alive and well.
They just look at the paperwork. This is what they do. They just look at the paperwork, look at everything, and when you pass that test, you get out.
Islam, and also the lien that was put on the public record, right? The acting landlord that says he owns the property and says that he lives on the next bottom level. Yes. He called the brother and was like, the sovereign government put a lien on me? The sovereign government put a lien? Tell your people to take this lien off. Huh? What are you talking about? My attorney called me and told me that there's a lien on my property, and I want y'all to take it off. Tell your people to take it off. And then the brother called us and said, he was laughing. He was like, yeah, the actor downstairs done called me and upset about this lien. He wants us to take it off. He was like, ha! Yep, no. Like, no such thing, you know. And then, you know, he enacted trying to get him arrested, but he got out, like he stated, because, you know, it's proven that he's the owner. The fiduciary documents, the bond that he was supposed, it states he's the creditor.
Yes. And you know,
and the lien.
Oh, go ahead, Empress. I apologize. Go ahead.
Pardon himself. And the lien that is on the record that he was sitting there crying over is a superior lien. It's a superior creditor stated lien that we are the first in time, first in line creditors, and we are superior, and there's nothing else above it. You can't go around it. Oh, and he has the audacity to say on the telly that I'm going to take it to the Supreme Court, and we all was laughing like, go ahead, try it. We is that too, you know. He was like, I'm going to spend so much money, get y'all up. We was like laughing, saying, try your best shot, Holmes. You ain't got nothing. We is everything you trying to get answers to. We is that, and we're going to deny. Accept your subject status, and that's it. That's it.
Everyone has to be themselves.
What a fucking ghetto bitch! Ghetto bitch.
I will say this about that. People were saying that the liens didn't work and no one was acknowledging the liens. All we had to do was just keep doing it, and then it would be acknowledged. You know, it would be acknowledged. But see, we have to know that. We have to know that we are the law.
You know, they acknowledged it, right? It was like, he was like, this lien, get it off.
Yeah.
Huh? Good luck with that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, even while all of this is happening, you know, and the acknowledgement is there by the subjects and things of that nature, again, the ones that come into the meeting and are, you know, doing whatever they're doing, talking to you know, to themselves, really, they're not going to acknowledge that. So they're trying to cast as many spells because they know it's over. They're trying to cast spells. Those ones that come into the meeting and just talk out and talk crazy and do all of that, they know it's over. They know it's over. They know that everything that we've done is proper and lawful and legal and acknowledged and effective and superior. But they're not going to come in here and say, "Oh man, y'all kicked our asses." They're not going to say that. So anybody
I won $1,000.
Anybody expecting them to say that, don't expect them to say that. They can't talk about the success of our nation. They can't talk about it, or else they would be breaking their oath. Okay. So, congratulations to the New York Moors. Now, let me say this about the missing, you know, the records that are not there, waiting for you to put your records there. Take the time, everyone, and this is for everyone. When you see that open door to your vast estate, just stay focused on, okay, this is a new test that has come. What do I need to put on the public record? And if everything is on the public record, then you take the next move. Then you make the next move. The next move is going to be after notification of everyone and everything and bonds and all of that. With every level that we achieve, there's always going to be a test there. So don't think that it's not going to be a test, but you're God. And when we keep our energy clear and keep sharing the information with each other and listening to each other and demonstrating and seeing what's happening, nothing will scare you. Nothing will scare you. And you will know that you're properly stated and everything is out there the way it should be and all of that. Because there's different levels, but don't be afraid of the testing, because you've already, really, in reality, you've already stated everything properly on the public record. Just keep going. That's the thing. The race is given to the one who endures. And when we say race, we're not talking about crayon colors and people. We're talking about some people call it a competition, but it's not really that either. It is our purpose for being here is the growth, the opportunity to further possess our vast estate. Islam.
And that's what we're doing over here. What we're doing is that we're studying all the offices to properly know and execute them with precision and perfection, because we're not going to move too fast. Now it's time. We're just watching the actors and what they're doing and how they're doing things, and we're just going to like Noble Drawley said, he said, watch the news to see what they're doing, so you can know the moves that you're supposed to make. So that's what we're doing right now. We did quite a few things that we're not letting be known right now because it's still in demonstration process. But we put in quite a few bonds. So we're just looking at the system, do what it does, and it's responding, and we're going to move forward from there. I'm not going to say too much. I don't want to know.
Yeah, Islam. I think that we're all at that same place where we now know that it's all about the information, the testing, the information, everything that has to do with us and what we know about the processes. All we're doing is being taught our system. It's about our system. Okay? We have the lawful system. The lawful system is whatever comes out of our mouth. Okay? That's the lawful system because we're God, we are the law, and all of that. The legal system is the part that where we're remembering how to use that system, because legally we've created or reactivated our ancient legal system. And so that's what gives us the authority to do things, So let's move a little further. Just one moment. Okay. So I want to emphasize the public aspect of things because first and foremost, people think that the public part, they don't want to be a part of the public part. They want to be a sovereign, private noble walking on the land. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. However, our strength is in our numbers. Our strength is in our numbers, and I mean that on all levels, at all times. So Congress will state some public buildings. So we want to just, if you can think of any building that is public, and we use this word "will" for a reason. We'll define it shortly throughout this Congress. Congress will state some, because they say, the Biblio states that the Savior will return on a wheel. He's the wheel in the middle of the wheel. We used to sing that in our sleep regarding the Savior, which we're the Savior. Yes, Justice Harold, you done jumped ahead. He said add TH to this and it becomes wealth. That is so true. That's very true. And our will is how we govern. When you see the definition of this word spelled this way, it made everything make sense to me about why we've been stating things about more sovereign delarium and things of that nature. Oh, here it is right here. Will. Our will. Our will is opulence, prosperity, a sound or prosperous state, right? The sound that we make, our well-being, our welfare as the common weal. And number 2, will is wealth and riches. So when we say, I will to do this or I will to do that, this is really what we're stating. Instead of saying, I want to do this or I want to do that. Want indicates a lack, and there's no lack with us. So we say, I will to do this and I will to do that. Will. Just to promote the will of. That means our will. And so when we create a living will, what are we doing? We're creating our living wealth and riches. That's what a living will is. So I would encourage you, when you talk about trust and wills, to look at this word. A will is a mark, a line or ridge raised on the skin. And they make it sound like somebody hit you, but that's not what it is. A mark, a line, or a ridge raised on the skin has everything to do with, for example, fingerprints. Our right red thumbprint is a will. That's a ridge raised on the skin. That's where our prosperity is within us. Islam Empress.
Just if I may go quickly back to public building definition that you had mentioned earlier. That, as I read it, it literally is the fork-tongue language of stating the incompetency of what public is, because it's saying without ownership, right? Because it's trying to denote that if somebody owns it, it can't be public. But it's incompetent because when the people who is a collective people, the collective consciousness, which is the government, own something, and we, the people, own it, then it is all of us who can have access to it that makes it public by its virtue. Yes. And so that
where is that conveyance? You said you were going to get it marked.
Departments or branches of government, state, county, or municipal, without those aren't the government. So it's not anything. So that in of itself shows the feudal language and the deadness thereof. And then on the bottom it says a building belonging to or used by the public for transactions of public or quasi public businesses. And the fact that they even put quasi in there says it all there too. So the fact that we, the people, are stating the lands and the buildings, even by our, proclamation of our mouth, and then stating it on the record, on the vessels, the paperwork, it's the capturing of the government property, making it public, and the opposite of what this definition is. So I know we have already restated it by just stating it, and so.
Yes, indeed. That's true. The one thing that kind of scared
incompetent dead
kept them scared and afraid and using language that sounds like they're really scared is us coming together. Us coming together, us unifying, us coming together. There is nothing more powerful than a whole group of sovereigns.
Yes,
a whole nation, a whole government of sovereigns who, even knowing the authority that we have, we still agree to come together.
You have no authority.
Contract together, to agree,
together.
Okay, to agree, and all of that. Us coming together and not warring. Yes, we have our own thoughts
if you had
and opinions
authority,
about things. We have all of that. But then we come together and speak peaceably with each other and deal peaceably with each other.
No cell phone,
right?
no.
Peaceably. So with that being stated, yeah.
No cell phone, no authority.
Just one moment. The word will came up in my study, so I had to look it up. And then here it says willful. If you're willful, you're happy, joyous, and prosperous. They say obsolete. Why? Because no one was using that word. No one was using that word because it didn't apply. And then wealth. Wealth is an extended form of will by the addition of the suffix th implying a condition or state. So again, whenever you see the suffix th, it's talking about the state of something. And that's why in the Biblios, they always used to use she that cometh and he that cometh and he that saith and all of that. They're pointing to the state of mind. And yes,
Fiat is alive and well.
In this era that we're at, we can use these words, and yes, everything belongs to us. Everything belongs to us. Everything belongs to us. There's nothing that does not belong to us. It's just a matter of our will and using the legal system to state that. Even where domiciles and conveyances are concerned, a proper statement of that on the public record with using real money is how that happens. Gold, silver, and Moorish sovereign Allodium is real money. So we talked about the word public. Publicus from populus, meaning people. That's all the public is the people, not person. It's the people. And the people use the paper to identify their person. And when they identify their person, the person has access to everything that has to do with the land, everything. So when we talk about buildings and things of that nature, when we want to use the building for us to gather together, the building must be properly stated on paper. It must be in proper species, just the same way that we do it. Okay? We must govern that whole process from start to finish. There's no building we cannot use. There's no building that exists that we cannot use. It's already ours. We don't have to keep saying we own it. We already own it. It's been ours from the very beginning. There was a system, and we use that system to access the buildings. And I will tell you this: the ancestors. We're having a meeting here at West in August. So, and we're stating that right now. We're saying as we work through the process of properly stating the building, doing the exchange on a public record and all of that, that stuff has to be done first. So we're saying August. If we have to move the date or change it, we'll do that. But we're going to use the system to get that, our system, to get access to the buildings and all of that, everything. That's our plan. Our plan is August. Our plan was initially March. We're just going to follow the ancestral lead and let the ancestors continue to walk us through these processes. We already know everything is ours. We're just going to continue to publicly proclaim it. Public as an adjective, and then we'll look at it as a noun. As an adjective, it says of, belonging to, concerning, or pertaining to the people of a nation, a state. And they say community, but that's not really it. It's really the nation and the state first, and then us as a community together, yes, of course, as a whole. It says as a whole. The public good, public property. And then it says here public service. We have just decided that we provide our own public service. We do our own public works, because faith without works is dead. It says number 2, open to common use. Common being all of the public. So our subjects that are here, that know their status, they can have access and use those places too. We govern the use of everything. So our job, we're not even worried about our subjects. We love them. We're not worried about them because we already know as we're doing what we're doing, they're going to be okay. They're going to be great. They're going to enjoy. It's about us. We don't even have to keep looking at them. We don't have to look at them.
Nappy-headed nose.
All we have to do is stay focused on us. Yes, it is all about us. That's not selfish. It's all about all of us together. It says it right there, as a whole. It's about the nation. It's about the state, the government, etc. It says for the use or benefit of all. And let's just put this on the public record because we know this to be true. When it says open to common use or for the use or benefit of all, that's all who have been who are of the specific identity. Of a specific identity. See, that's the part where in the last era, they will say something is public. They will say something is public, but then some people could come in and others couldn't. Or when others came in, they got arrested. But this is a public venue. No, it wasn't public. That was fake public. Like the fake voices that you hear from the dead. We're getting rid of that sound. Okay? And from our perspective, we can't hear them.
Funny how you own everything but no.
We can't hear them. Like I said, we can't hear them. We hear each other. And so it says here, acting, and they say acting, but we know we're actually, this is who we are. We are the official capacity on behalf.
Don't own First Avenue either, do you, bitch?
Okay.
No First Avenue.
So it says acting
evictions are still
in an official capacity on behalf of the people as a whole, as a public prosecutor. Look at that, Morse. So anyone who's been in a fake court, they were supposed to be acting in the official capacity on behalf of the people, except you weren't the people.
No free cell phone.
To them, you were a person that they were claiming to own in their enactment.
No freedom.
So
no,
we have to that's where the paper comes in at. That's where the paper comes in at. Proper identification of the parties, properly identifying the court. Now, for those who are looking at buildings and things of that nature, every quote unquote entity that presents itself, you must speak to it regarding that building. You must speak to it. When you speak to that entity, so for example, if you're looking at a building and it's supposed to be the City of Federal Way building in the records in the enactment, then you must pull down that stronghold enactment by your documentation, by your paper, proper identification of who the city, who's the real city, what's the real address of the real building, and all of that. And then you show how that building was obtained. by using your paperwork. Okay? Yes, it's a process to govern, and legally, and when we say legally, we're talking about living legally, not dead legally. Living legally present this building. And the use of it and the occupancy of it, the owner occupancy of that building. It's a process. We know that. That's why we came here, and that's why we live so long, is so that we can go through the processes and do what is necessary in properly stating. It says here, the word public is, it says known by or open to the knowledge of all or most people. Not persons, people. Known by or open to the knowledge of. That's what public is. Public is about the mind. It's about the mind. It says, and of course they reference the biblioheliotext, Matthew, the 1st chapter, verse 19, Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privily. He took her out of the public because she was pregnant and it wasn't his, and put her in the private. We'll let that marinate right there on the public record. Public act or statute, in law, an act or statute which concerns the public and of which judicial notice is taken by the courts. The courts must acknowledge and notice and notify and know what we're saying. Who are the courts? We are. And then what do? We send in writing to the subjects in the office of court. This is how access to buildings is obtained. Islam.
I have a question. Now, I know we're supposed to be doing a driver's license and restating of licenses for the subjects. Do we, in the documentation that we notifying them with, do we put an affidavit?
Just a moment. It's not just for the subjects, it's for the Moors too. Moors who want to do commerce or who want to drive or who want to travel, that is for them as well. And the Moors can create their own driver's license, or you can have us do it. Either way, gold and silver only.
Yes.
Go ahead, nobility.
Now, with that being said, do we send like a small little affidavit, telling them to put on the public record that they are subject to the Moors for the subjects part?
Nope.
No?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Because guess what? They can't put it on the public record. They're not the public. You are.
Okay.
So you do it when you publish your documents, it already says what it says. And again, this is just a suggestion. Our eyes need not be on the subjects. They already know who they are. We need to know who we are and then state that. And when we state that, it's automatically going to put them in subject status. Automatically. If we keep focused on us, we're gonna everything else is gonna be in place. Everything else is gonna be in place. And that's been the message that's been stated on both sides. And when I say both sides, the subjects have made it clear that they know who they are. Why? Because they just do as as they should.
Yes, and they do. You're definitely right. You're correct on that. They definitely do, because every time we send documents in, they do as told, and certain things come down, and we know the whole process of how to do everything already. So from like how you was just stating before, I asked a question. Once you do everything, it's not. I know it sounds like a lot of paperwork, but once you know what you're doing, it from start to finish, it is not a lot of paperwork. Once you know it, it's so easy. Yeah. Like in the Mohammedan religion, it says, "Surely with hardship there's ease. Surely in hardship there's ease."
There's what?
It says, surely in hardship there is ease. Surely with hardship there is ease. So that's like a verse from out of the Quran from the Muhammadan religion.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we have stated that the documentation is so that we will know. It's really not for anybody else. It's for us to know. Because when we know, everybody else says, okay, they know. Well, we got to, you know, just like we were stating to a couple of Congresses ago. Once we demonstrate competence, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that we are the Lord's for the land. And the only reason that the last era even happened was to show us, to show us in their enactment how we are to govern, except we're to do it with nobility and not with war. Because war is not noble, just so that you're aware. It's not noble from the last era. From the last era. Let me clarify that. War from the last era is not noble. Islam nobility.
I just want to share something that we've also figured out over here with dealing with the GSA bonds.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked AI a question.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do now that I've use the GSA bonds? Now I'm learning on their site how the GSA bonds is appropriated. Basically, you would implore, like, there's more out here with construction companies and what's the name companies. Now you can take a letter of credit or our affidavit of creditor's affidavit of credit and send it to the Moor, so he can actually get to work on some of these properties, because some of these properties, they've been misused. They need to be renovated, brand new and stuff like that. A lot of stones is out of place. It needs to be revamped. So all these Moors, if you've done a bond, you can act now that it's on the public record, because in their enactment, what they was doing was they were sending it to the county clerk office and wrote private on the envelopes. And then they send 2 copies. They send one to the county clerk office, one to the GSA, both in envelopes stating public and private. So we don't deal with the private, we're public. So we put it on our county clerk office, which is our website first. Then we send a notification to our subjects county clerk office, and then is basically activated that we activated it first, but we notified them that we activated a GSA bond so that we can properly do work on property that we have already restated and put on a public record as well. Islam, I just wanted to share that.
Islam, we affirm what you stated. We also know that those courts where the subjects are, those are not separate from us. We govern them. We are the head magistrates there. So when they talk about, or when we talk about, when we talk about King County Superior Court, we might as well be sitting there right now, because we are everywhere in all the offices issuing the law by paper and by our word. So there's 2 definitions here on the screen that where public is concerned, that are important to look at. Because the ones that were coming into the meetings and speaking dead language and interrupting seemingly, or enacting interrupting and things of that nature, they were doing that to work on the confidence of anyone who would listen to them. If you don't listen to them, they can't affect your confidence. They can't affect your feelings. They cannot affect if you don't hear their sound, they can't affect nothing you're doing. They don't control anything. They cannot change your frequency, Because, see, that's really what that's about, is an attempt to change, an enacted attempt to change your frequency. Why? Because they already know that the money and everything is tied to the confidence. If we, as we continue to be bold and confident about what we're doing, the credit is already there. The trust is already there. The money is already there. Public credit, the confidence. That means, do you know that your systems work? Because you built the system. That's all credit ever was. Is you build something and then you say, okay, I'm going to see if this works, and then it works. And then you're confident in your ability to create your own door. It says the confidence which men entertain in the ability and disposition of a nation. Now, we could just stop there. To make good its engagements with its creditors. And look carefully, because we know who the creditors are. We're the creditors for our own nation. It says also a similar confidence on the part of the public toward those in business. That's public credit. Because, and guess what? We're on all sides of that. So we have complete confidence in everything that we're doing. We're the public. We're the businesses. We're the creditors. And we're the people. That's where public credit comes from. Where does public debt come from? It says the debt of a government or nation to individual creditors. And see, there's no individuals in what we do. Our strength is in our numbers. There's sovereigns, but not individuals. Big, huge, gigantic difference. There are sovereigns, but not individuals. National debt. That means if you're doing things as an individual, then you may be subject to run into some debt. Islam.
Oh my goodness. When I'm reading this meaning right here, like the public debt, a debtor, it says right here, a government which in one country is at war. That right there, that just proves you who's the creditor. The ones that even come on here and want to be at war. They the debtors. So now this word right here, that just put them in their place.
That's it. And that's why we say what we've been saying, nobility, is we're not at war. We've been saying that for years. And guess what the fakes did? They said, okay, we'll be the debtor. Let's declare war. We'll be the debtor. That's what they said. The fakes did that. Public enemy. Islam.
And this is why you can't be upset. You just got to be like, okay, we're not at war. We're the creditors. We hear you, debtors. That's all we can say. We hear you. The ones that they say, okay, we gonna be at war because they not creditors. We the creditors. We're not at war.
Period. 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 And as we restate these definitions, because we restate all of them, because they all have some corruption in them, there's no such thing as an individual creditor. There are sovereign creditors, period. And then it says they're public enemy, a government with which one's country is at war. How is that even possible that you can say that the country is at war with the government when they're one and the same? It's some people in that country that's pretending to be the government, or that was pretending to be the government. So how are they different? They're not different. So we are at peace with our government because we are at peace with ourselves. We're at peace with the people because we are the people. We love government because we love ourselves, all of us, and we love each other. That is why when people say when you hear Moors wearing fezzes and turbans and saying they're at war, just send them some positive, peaceful energy so that they will know that you cannot war with yourself. Because there's none beside you. That's in the Biblio. You are God and there's none beside you. And when they say beside you, that's why I say we are one God and there's none beside us. We are one God. Public enemy, a hardened criminal or other person who is a menace to society. Someone mentioned the enemies of state. There's the word war. And then it says public enemy number 1. That's an underworld character. That's somebody that's always under and fighting from that position. Anytime you fight, you're fighting from a position of under. That's why we don't fight. Anyone agreeing to war is warring from a place that is beneath them. That's why they call it the underworld or the undertaker or under this and under that. Just one. Pulled it up. Everything I could find about public, I pulled it up. Just so that we can see, because this is the point of emphasizing public. Look here, public holiday is the same as a legal holiday. Uh-oh, what does that mean? Does that mean public and legal mean the same thing? Does the word public mean the same thing as legal? That's a question. Anyone who can answer that question. Does public holiday mean the same as legal holiday?
L.
Islam Empress.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Now we know why the legal system wasn't working in the last era enactment.
Islam. That goes back to the definition of public property and why public property, like, it didn't have an owner before, because we, the people, were declared, according to them, dead, lost at sea, and so on and so forth. Dead letter Muhammad and whatever else.
And they're private property.
Exactly. So now that we know what the public is and the public holiday, it truly can be, and it is the same as legal, because we state that all land is public, therefore all is legal, because we are the public, we are the governed, we're the governors, the governance, and the people. That's it. So with that stated, this one is true. Public holiday, same as legal holiday. Public house, a bar, tavern, an inn. Interesting.
That is interesting, because where did they say their Savior was born? In an inn?
In D. Multiple choice.
Yeah. They are pointing to the answer. They're pointing to the answer.
And in.
Yes.
And in what now? And in proper persona to juris.
Well, and think about the word bar. A bar is that's a legal term. Mm-hmm. The Bar Association. Listen, it's all in the words. All we had to do was learn how to read, and now we know how to read, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. Just one moment. I'm so grateful for that. So, public land. Land which is the property of a government or people. Well, wait a minute. Government or people? Especially that which is open to settlers. When I first saw the word settlers here, of course, it affected my frequency, okay? But then I thought about it, and the ancestor said, don't get upset. You're the settlers. Settler is a financial word. That's someone who comes to settle accounts.
Or also in trust law, you're the settler.
Yes. Yes. Yes, indeed. So, again, we still don't have to look at foreign enemies, okay, because we don't even have, they don't exist. It's all about us. It's all about us. And once we can look at a whole document and not think once about foreign enemies, but just think about ourselves and how we would use this to assist each other and our nation and make it better for all of us. When we can look at documents and definitions and words and not think about foreign matter, foreign persons, if you can look at these without seeing that, but only see what you can do for you and for those that, for everyone that's a part of the nation. When you can do that, you've already conquered the only enemy you ever had. So, public opinion. They used to call it the court of public opinion back in the day. The opinion of the people generally, especially as a force in determining social conduct and political action, that just means that the public is the force that determines how people act and what happens in the world. All of that. Public relations, relations with the general public through publicity. Those functions of a corporation, organization, branch of military service, etc., which that's not true, is concerned with informing the public of its activities, policies, etc., and attempting to create a favorable public opinion. When we, the people, that's what the Constitution was all about. It's a public document. That's why it starts with we, the people.
Fact. Delarium is dead.
There it is, right there. There it is right there. The public opinion determines everything. And think about this, the word opinion, I thought about that word because everything that the fake actors from the last era that was doing business as the Supreme Court, all they ever issued was opinion. And then everybody said, oh, the Supreme Court said this and this and this, so we have to do this and this because they said that. And the word opinion, the root word is pen, P-E-N. It's what you write. Public school in the United States, they have to say in the United States because in the last era, that dead enactment had things going on that nowhere else had going on, okay? And elementary or secondary school that is part of a system. So it's not supposed to be the whole system. It was supposed to be part of a system. Maintained by public taxes and supervised by who? The city, the county, the state. Offering education, usually free. So anybody who ever paid for lunch money and all of that kind of stuff, that stuff was not, we were never supposed to be enslaved like that. And you know what? Now that I think about it, my parents had 9 babies. My parents had 9 babies. And at any given time, there was anywhere from 3 to 6 to all 9 of us in school at one time. And there came a time in that enactment where my parents made more money than was allowed for you to get free lunch. So then we had to start bagging lunches and putting lunches together. But to think about the backwardness of that, the backwardness of that is that we felt like we were doing good because we did not qualify for free lunch. That's backwards. That's backwards. It's very backwards. Because of the system. The system is what made that thinking backwards. We thought that because we made enough fiat that we could now get off of free lunch, because we were on it at one point, because there were so many of us. But then, so it was backwards. The thinking was backwards. But see, now in this era, Moors, we have more than enough. And then things like free lunch, we create those programs to assist anyone who, wherever they are on the timeline, whether it be subjects or heirs. And really that all of that was supposed to be for the United States citizen subjects. All of those programs, welfare, free lunch, Social Security, and all of that was supposed to be for those who came here who were not the heirs and who didn't have access to the things that we have access to, which is our own money system and all of that. So if you look at when those programs came into being, you will also see that it coincides with the changing of the financial system. When was Social Security, quote unquote, invented, or when did it come onto the public record? And you will note that all of those programs came about August 14th, 1935, right after 1933 was the enactment. There it is. All of those programs came when the system changed. And then it says here, in England, originally any nonprofit grammar school endowed for the general use of the public. And why did they call it grammar school? Because they were changing up the words. And so we could go on and on. Public servant, a person who serves the people as a civil service or elective office. Nope. And there's some corruption in that too. There's really no such thing as a public servant. If they're public, then people are not supposed to be charged for that. But a servant is worthy of his hire. So those two don't go together. And that's why our prophet said a servant is worthy of his hire. He didn't say a public servant is worthy of his hire, because that doesn't make sense. Our prophet knew the difference. Prophet Noble Ali knew the difference, which is why he wrote the way he wrote. Public spirit, interest in matters concerning the public. Interest and spirit and matters, those words always go together. Because interest is first expressed in the spirit realm. You have to be looking at something going, I think I want to be a part of that. That's the first interest. Then interest becomes financial, because then you say, okay, if I want to be a part of that, what are the entry fees? What do I do? Oh, you declare your nationality and you get some Allodium and some gold and silver, and you do it that way. That creates living matter. So we could go on and on about that. There's a difference between public service and public works. Public works has everything to do with the land. And mind you, everything has to do with the land. Everything can be mapped back to the land, because it can't even sit here without being on the land. And let's just talk about the synonym for the word public as an adjective. Public, open, notorious, common, social, national, exoteric, and general. General, the root word being gene, that means it's specific in species. We can't say that we're a part of the public from the last era, that enactment. We can't say that. It's not true. That's why identity was under a criminal code. And then it says public, the general body of a nation, state, or community, the people as a whole, the community at large. The public, a specific part of the people. There's that word species again. Those people considered together because of some common interest or purpose. In public, in open view. Not in private or secrecy. And then, we pulled up a bunch of other things. Publican. When people talk about the return of the republic, in ancient Rome, a collector of public revenues. Revenue. There's that court word again. You can't collect anything from that last era. People trying to collect all that stuff. And let me say this about people trying to collect things, because this is something that we're experiencing. What we're experiencing and seeing in the spirit realm and in the natural is this. In the Biblios, it says that the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. I wondered, ancestors, how is that going to happen? And now I'm experiencing it. It doesn't look like what I thought it was going to look like. What it looks like, and this is for all of us to note. Sometimes those who are considered the wicked, and wicked it doesn't mean what we thought it meant. However, it does mean those that are vibrating at a frequency that indicates death for others, not just them, for others. For example, let's say a drug dealer or someone who is just malicious. Those who are malicious and who have ill intent, they're now starting to leave in this dimension. And all the things that they have, that they collected, that they took and collected, that stuff is being handed over to those who are still here and who are righteous. Righteous meaning in your right status. And let me tell you, some of the things that people who, from the last era, some of the things they collected with all, it doesn't matter how they got it. Some of the things they collected is things that I've never seen it before. And to actually physically touch these things, knowing it's our stuff, it's a feeling like no other. I've not had that feeling until recently, in the last few weeks, where we were wondering where is all of our stuff, and they were just guarding it. They were the custodians of it. And now that they're leaving, they're just leaving the stuff and saying, here, you have this. And the stuff is coming to us not by them walking up to us and saying, here, the system is saying, that belongs to you, that belongs to you, that belongs to you. You're in line for that. The system is saying that. I'm watching it happen. I'm living it. I'm experiencing that. And it's a feeling that just, it didn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, but it doesn't. The ancestors have their ways of doing things. And many of you are going to experience the same thing, like in the next week or more, where the legal system is going to direct things to you that you never expected to come to you. You didn't even know that stuff existed. And here it is, and it's yours, free and clear. We're experiencing that, and the system said, that's yours. You can have it. Some of the things that is things that I was just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was saying, ancestors, I need some new whatever. I need some new, or not need, I will to have some new shower shoes. But I was not going to compromise to get them. I was just going to wait. And they came. And that's small, but it's big when you think about what we're really doing. We have more shower shoes now than we know what to do with. We actually gonna have to find somewhere, we're gonna have to disperse and tribute things out because there's so much. That's just one example. Many of you will experience the same thing. Many of you, starting now. But it won't look like what you think maybe from the first instant. So with that being stated, when I saw this, I thought about RV Bay Publications and the great work that they have been doing, making things public, publishing things, the printing and distribution. And one of the things that we did is initially we saw where some, where some of the sites were charging more fiat to publish their papers, we distanced ourselves from that for this very reason. We distanced ourselves from that because the ancestors first said, don't burden the people with the fiat piece. Don't burden them with that because it has to go away. It has to go away. It's already gone, really. And so when I thought about them, RV Bay Publications, I'm so grateful for them because that's when we woke up. A lot of the documents that our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey wrote are those documents, the nationality paperwork and things of that nature. So for those who want to declare your nationality, we would encourage you to go to RV Bay Publications and start there because it's a great place for the novice or the neophyte, the new Moors. It's a great place for you to go. And let me tell you, you won't be new, but 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And after that, the Spirit will take you everywhere that you want to go, that you will to go. A publicist is a student of or specialist in international law, one who treats of the rights of nations. Why would a publicist, why would that be the publicist? Why would that be the definition of a publicist? Why? Why does a publicist or one who publishes, why are they considered a specialist in international law? Why is it that they are the one who treats of the rights of nations? Why is a publicist necessary for that? Most, indeed, Empress, she said, is bigger for Crown 7. It's most persons who were doing business as movie stars had a quote-unquote publicist. We thought that it was someone who would give a statement when something happened, but in reality, they were really stating who they were acting as. They were acting as an actor, because they're not even real actors. They're not even real actors, because that's a title still. But they would put things on the public record about them, about quote unquote Britney Spears and others, and we could have said any name. But that was to let us know, or let the public know rather, because they weren't talking to us, but to let the public know what they were doing. That they were claiming houses and land and things of that nature. Whenever you would hear them say, oh, Bill Gates, his house is worth $184 million, and it's this and this and this and this. They were acting as one who is publishing something, and if no one rebuts it, then they move forward. That's what a publicist in international law is all about, because they've listen, all the actors knew we were here. All the subjects in the office of actor knew we were here in their enactment. They knew that. They knew that we were not a part of a one nation under God. How can we ever be a part of anything that's under us? That's impossible. It can't be true. One who writes on current affairs, current being a monetary word.
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
So is that also like they used to issue edicts as well? So basically a public notice trying to make it law?
Yes. And see, they knew they couldn't make law, but if we didn't get on the public record and rebut even their identity first, then they would just keep going, because they had no adversary in the enactment. Because we were busy acting as if we were U.S. citizens. And then we thought there was nothing we could do about it, whatever they said. Publicly, in a public manner, openly, with exposure to public view or notice, without concealment. Concealment meaning without a proper seal on it. It's just flapping in the wind. And then by consent or agency of the public, in the name of. And they said community, but everywhere else in these definitions where they said community, they first said nation, state, and community. In the name of. See, no one, that's what a person is all about. That's what us stating our person, that we own, the persons that we own, stating that on the public record, that's what that's all about. So that no one will act in our name. And in church, what did we always say back in the last era in our enactment? In the name of Jesus. That's what we said back then in that enactment. They knew that was fictitious in terms of us saying that. That was fiction. Public Service Corporation. That was the enactment last era for everything. That was the enactment. A privately, they were claiming that their persons were private, and they could do whatever they want with their private whatever. That's what they were claiming last era. So then they would pretend to make you and I public service corporations. And look at the definition. How are you a public service corporation, but then the definition says private? A privately owned corporation. That's
oxymoron. Oxymoron, exactly, because you cannot be.
You can't be both.
No.
We can, but they can't in that last era. And here's the thing about everything. Everything that's public is owned by us, and we're just saying we'll let you use it. So we are both automatically. A privately owned corporation that supplies certain common needs of the public, not to the public, but of the public, as water, electricity, gas, or transportation. And that's if the public needs that. We're proving that we don't need anything, but that we state everything, and therefore everything is already ours. You know, the cell phone piece. That piece was a game of chicken for us, for me, for us. It was a game of chicken where those fakes were wondering how we would fare without one, if we would be scared. Because think about that, Moors. No matter where the sleeping Moors live, they all have a cell phone. They walk down the street and have a cell, and that's not a bad thing. We're not saying it's a bad thing. What we are stating, though, is that we don't need anything. We already own everything. No, we're not afraid. We're not afraid. And they say, what if something happens? The ancestors already said nothing's going to happen that we don't state. We stated that nothing is going to happen in terms of us needing a cell phone and missing out on something. We are who we are. We're stating who we are. And now the ancestors have made it so that all of that stuff is coming in spades, in droves. In droves. And at any time, we can label Verizon a public service corporation. And when we say you're a public service corporation, we can get cell phone service. That's another piece of the puzzle. We're not afraid. We're not scared, not at all. We know that the ancestors are giving us the keys. We're being patient through that time period. We have a ton of cell phones. But we're not going to compromise and jump past. We're going to be ourselves. And the ancestors are now showing us that that's the right move. So however long it would have taken, our ancestors know what they're doing. We trust them because guess what? All of us are our ancestors returned. I trust you all, and I trust me. So we're just going to keep going. We're not worried about anything. We're living it right now, where things are coming to us that we never expected in terms of this quickly, that much, that quickly. So now we're just looking at system-wise, making sure that we demonstrate the system with that. And we obviously already demonstrated the system because the stuff is here. Obviously, we've already demonstrated the system. Just like Justice Nathan, what you stated about you looked and the property is not saying anything about who owns it and stuff, that means obviously you all have demonstrated properly. Because when we do what we're supposed to do in terms of the law, we've always stated this. We've been saying this for years, that when we are competent, they will yield. We've always stated that. When we're competent, they will yield. So if you're seeing where there's some pushback in what you're doing, look at your process. Look at your process. Don't let pride and ego make you overlook that. Look at your process again. Take a deep breath, give it a sleep cycle, and then look at it again. Okay. And here's where the word will came in at: public spiritedness, a disposition to advance the public good, a willingness to make sacrifices of private interest to promote the common weal. We have made what might be termed private sacrifices, sacrifices of private interest. We did that. The cell phone was one of those things that we could label it that. But we know that we trust our ancestors. We trust them, and they've not failed us yet. And now we're seeing everything come back. We're seeing everything come back, and I'm talking not just one or two, but many. We're going to have to. Our system will tell where everything is to go. I'm not even going to act like I got so much stuff that I don't know what to do with it. That's not where we are. We know what to do with it. Let the system do what it does. Publish. To make public or known, either by words, writing, or printing. Public and publish are the same thing. As what before was private or unknown. When we talk about our Moorish nationality documents, all we're doing when we publish them is we're making something private known, because it happens within us first. And then we make it known. So to divulge as a private transaction, the word divulge, the root word of that is V-U-L-G or V-U-L. Whenever we're studying Latin, a lot of times we will we will see a book called the Biblioheliothek, but they don't call it that in Latin. They call it the Latin Vulgate. The Latin Vulgate is the word gate. And when that gate opens, all of the spells that are there we have access to them. That is the root word of the word vulgar. When people are saying things and it's vulgar, that's where that term came from. To promulgate or proclaim as a law. When we publish, we're making it law. It's law in private first, and that's why we deal with ourselves first. Then when we put it on the public record, it's public.
Excuses for your failures.
It's public. Period. To cause to be printed or offered for sale. And for us, when we publish, we can sell or not sell. It's stated by the document. And nothing sells on the land unless we say it does. To issue from the press to the public. To put into circulation. Now, let me say this about that word press. Press and public are two different things, but they have the same force when we use them. Press and media and publish and public. See, it's by the force and I'm going to use that word and spell it a little differently because we're not at war. It is by the force of what we say as the public that anything becomes law. Okay? And then number 3 says to utter, to pass or put into circulation. The Biblios talks about the word utter in the creation of the earth and in the creation of anything, really. It talks about people receiving the Holy Spirit as the Spirit, or speaking in tongues as the Spirit gives utterance. We speak in Latin and all of the other languages that we use, French and all of these other languages. We speak in those languages publicly because the utterance of it is a creator. It creates. It says here, as to publish counterfeit paper. More Salvandolarium gold receipts are the counter to fake U.S. Federal Reserve debt notes. Not the counterfeit, because they don't fit that debt system from the last era. That's why we have to state everything properly. When you call it what it really is, then more Salvandolarium will get you whatever it is that you're looking at. Call it what it is, which is the counter to make it known by posting or by reading in a church, as to publish bans of matrimony. Yes, matrimony was banned in the church in the last era's enactment. There it is right there on the screen. It was banned. They did marriage. Islam Empress.
This is also speaking, when we go back to press, that all of this is contract. So to publish is actually, all this is contract law.
Yes. Yes. And we don't contract with the dead, so we have to create the living, everything, and the property. We have to call the buildings what they really are, give it the right address, lien any fraud, levy anything, all of that stuff. That's what this process, and it's a very simple. It's simple. Once you get the order of business, lien, levy, bond, a proper exchange on the public record, proper statement of everything, and then being the CEO and stating that you're not the CEO but the chief of that whatever it is, the chief justice of whatever it is. That then removes any bans on whatever it is that you're talking about. In the Biblios, it talks about the marriage and the church being the bride and there being a bridegroom. The legal system is the bridegroom and we are the bride. Even when you look at Unum Sanctum talks about she, the church, she, the ecclesia, she, the Holy One, she being all of us, including our sons. The sons can use their she energy to state the things, and then we use our he energy with the legal system that we've created. Synonym of publish, to announce, to advertise, to declare, to proclaim, to divulge, to disclose. When you talk about the closing of a house contract, we disclose first and by publication, and then we close it by our use of it, our proper use of it. Close meaning no one can come behind you and say and do whatever. And finally, publisher, a person or firm that publishes, especially one that prints and issues. Have we not printed and issued more Salvandolarium? Yes, we have. And it's contained once again, within this definition. To the public, newspapers, public books, and other literary matter. Literary matter. Moorish sovereign delarium is literary matter. Prophet Noble Drew Ali stated that we must change the literature. And then it says here maps. That means that a publisher is telling people where everything is and what the names of the places are and all of that. That's us. Engravings, music, and the like for sale. Sale being an admiralty word. So when people think of for sale, they think of, money being exchanged and people buying and selling. Sale first is admiralty law. It's the law. And the legal system responds to that. And again, our legal system, not a fake dead one enactment from the last era. So with that being stated, the thing, we did not list, and I would like for us to list some public places. What brought this to our attention about public places is as I was reading this first page in the Biblios, this Biblios right here, placed by the Gideons. Let me just read this first page because earlier in this we said that we were going to show you where they got their names from, where they would call themselves this, that, and the third. They call themselves Israel and Israelis and all of that stuff. Let's show you in their iteration of the Biblios where those names come from. Who are the Gideons? This question is frequently asked by the readers of these Bibles, not the original Bible, but the fake one, the one where they took it out of the original tongue. It says, asked by the readers of these Bibles, so the following information may be of interest. In the fall of the Moors, the enactment, 1898, two traveling men, that was the enactment of the fall, not the real fall, because we never really fell. Two traveling men, strangers to each other, met in a Wisconsin U.S.A. hotel. They put that there on purpose because it's not the real Wisconsin. It's a fake. It says discovering each other, doctrine of discovery type of stuff. Discovering each other to be a Christian, they held their evening devotions together. The Lord impressed upon them the idea of forming an association of Christian traveling men, and the following July, these two met with a third man for that purpose. Why? Because 3 is the magic number. You have to have 2 witnesses. And of course, for us, our witness is we're the sovereign, we're the people, and we have a person. So it says, after prayer together, the name of the Gideons was selected for the group. Now, this is where they get all of that stuff from. This name was taken from the story of Gideon. In the 6th and 7th chapters of the Bible book of Judges, they're stating that which book? Which book is it? The Bible book of Judges. The leader of a small band of men dedicated to the service of God, through whom God accomplished much for his people. So they're not real Gideons or Israelites or Canaanites or Moabites or none of that. They're not real ones. They just looked in the original books that we wrote, all of which are Bibles, and they said, oh, let's adopt this name. So now you know where all of that stuff comes from, is they looked at our records that we wrote, and they said, let us be like the Most High God. I want to be like the Most High God. That's what they said. And where have we heard that before? It says, the Gideons are laymen from various evangelical denominations, Christian business and professional men with a vital testimony for the Lord. Each Gideon is an active member, and they're not real Gideons again, is an active member of some local church, and the Gideons as an association work in operation with evangelical churches and denominations. The primary object of the Gideons is to win others for the Lord Jesus Christ, and an effective means to this end has been the wide distribution of the word of, and of means without, God. The Gideons seek to spread the Bible, the word of God, and to encourage its use as widely as possible. The Lord has opened doors for the placement of his word among many strategic groups of the population. Remember, the public and the population is real. That's where everything gets done. If you want to win, that's where you go. Population, and in places through which large and important streams of national life pass from day to day. Well, when someone passes away, we say they passed. National life passed from day to day. Bibles are placed in the rooms of hotels and motels and in other public places. So what is that saying about hotels and motels? That they're public. And that's why Moorish Sovereign Allodium will work at any hotel anywhere at earth when that hotel is properly stated. It says large New Testaments are placed in hospitals beside each bed. But now watch the language that they use here, because then they're going to start wiggling through the language, going from public to private. It says here, individual copies of the New Testament with Psalms and Proverbs are given to the members of our armed forces, to the young people in the schools of the land, to nurses and to others. So what they did there, you see what they did there? They just said that the people of the land are individuals. And then they claimed nation, state, and whatever else, association and all of that. They claimed their quote unquote togetherness or their trust, because that's a claim of trust. When they say they're the state, they're the law, they're the government, they're the Gideons, they're this, that, and the third, and the individuals are on the land. That's backwards. It's backwards. It says in recent years, and this is just about over. This is just this is the end of this. In recent years, the Lord, and when they talk about the Lord, they're talking about fiat. Make no mistake about it. Fiat, and those who printed the fiat, they were calling them in the Lord in their enactment. That's why at every quote unquote house of God, they were passing that plate, and you better put some fiat in there. In recent years, and we're not mad again at the real Christians that we've christened as Christians. We love them. We're talking now about, we're pointing out where the flip-flop enactment happens. The Bible distribution program, in recent years, the Lord has opened doors for similar work in many lands, and they're using the word land now because they're still wanting to talk about nationals and individuals. So that Gideon associations organized with nationals now exist in more than 170 countries. So there had to be some more somewhere that were approving this. The Bible distribution program is financed primarily through the help of Christian people in the local churches, because the Christian people were the ones passing the fiat in the last era. And again, we're not mad at them. They were just doing something in the absence of real money and we, in the enactment. So we're not mad. We know it was an act. The Gideons are essentially a non-sectarian missionary arm of the church, sowing the precious seed through, it says, sowing the precious seed, the word of God, in the fields of the world. As such, thousands of evangelical churches support the work by their prayers and contributions. Well, let me ask this question, and it's just rhetorical. If their prayers work, would they need the contributions? I'm just asking. That means there's more to it than just praying. It says, God has promised to bless his word and to cause it to bear fruit that will honor him. Gideons have seen many evidences of his blessing upon their work. And now that he is keeping his promise, and know that he is keeping his promise, it is their sincere prayer that each reader of this particular copy, they're then going by species, they're saying particular and specific, same thing, copy of his word will also find the individual instruction and blessing that he may need as he reads in the wonderful book Without God. It says here, individual instruction and blessing. That means that you will not find, they're not going to show you anything about why you're called a national. You must learn to read for yourself. Then you will find the real biblios, which is actually whatever comes out of your mouth, the real thing. That's real. And again, we showed this earlier, translated out of the original tongues and with the former translations, diligently compared and revised. Islam. Are there any questions, comments, or wisdom regarding anything that we have stated thus far? Any questions, comments, or wisdom regarding anything that we've stated thus far? Islam. We have one final presentment really quickly. It's a pretty quick presentment that we want to show. But prior to showing that, there's someone in the chat that is asking regarding how to nationalize in Canaan land. You nationalize in Canaan land the same way we do here, because Canaan land is North America. So, Empress, this is our suggestion to you regarding nationality and nationalizing. We stated this earlier, we'll state it again, because the whole earth and all of the information on earth is about nationality. All of it is. And that's why we don't have a specific website, because there's so many out there where the ancestors will direct you to a place, and then they're gonna enhance everything you see. So no matter where you go about nationality, you're gonna see resources that you can use. And so for the Canaan land Moors who have not done so, we highly suggest that you go to RV Bay Publications and let us make this statement on the public record, just to honor the last words that we heard about a few years ago. We are suggesting RV Bay Publications, but we did not write any of the things on there and things of that nature. Okay, so the inbox that you sent regarding nationality, first let us continue with how anyone can declare the nationality. You can go to RV Bay Publications website, rvbaypublications.com. Get the nationality documentation, because that's where we started. And then once we opened our spirits up some more and continued to open it up through the testing and the demonstration and things like that, the ancestors led us to write our own documentation. Okay. But I would suggest that you go there first, because it's a good place to start. You can go there. You can go to MoorishAmericanConsulate.org. We don't suggest using fiat for anything. We say because anything that you state, you can state it yourself. And on RV Bay Publications, you don't have to use any fiat to get the nationality the name change and judicial proclamation, as well as you don't have to get it from here. You don't have to use fiat to get it from us either. We put them in ancient English under these videos on YouTube at Light Tajiri Bay channel, so people can freely access them in ancient English, because that will be the next step. That's called speaking in tongues as the Spirit gives utterance. All nations, by definition, have their own language. So once you go to any of the websites that where nationality, because there are many that have nationality documents, download the documents, study them, read them, and then present them as you are led to present them. There's someone who asked about documents because they feel that maybe they got nationalized by way of someone who they might consider not above board, or they may consider them crooked or whatever. Your nationality is yours. It doesn't. I don't care where you get it from. It's yours. It belongs to you. You govern it. If it was your intention to declare your nationality, then no matter how you got it, and we suggest that you not use fiat because that is a corruption, but because you can present your nationality documents yourself. You write them out. You can, anybody that you get them from, you can, and nationality is free. It should never, ever, ever cost anything. Nationality doesn't even cost gold and silver and Moorish sovereign delarium from our perspective, because you have the authority to state it yourself. We're just putting legal systems in place so that the massive number of both Moors, sleeping Moors who are waking up, and subjects can have and access all that is necessary. Some are coming from being incarcerated. They're going to need domiciles and conveyances and food and whatever else. You know, we're making it so that all of that can be manifested for them, so that they don't have to, you know, do without when everything is based on their identity anyway. So where nationality is concerned, any website, just Google how do I do Moorish nationality? How do I activate Moorish nationality? Or how do I declare my nationality? Google that, and most of the websites, there are quite a few. And for those who are doing nationality documents on your websites, we honor you. It doesn't matter whether they agree with us or not, we honor them. Okay, and that could be individuals who are doing that, and I don't say individuals because they're still government. Any websites that are doing Moorish nationality documents and not charging fiat for it, we honor you. Those that are charging fiat, we honor you still, but you know how we feel about that. Because it's the law. It doesn't have anything to do with our feelings. It's the law that fiat not be involved in the things that we're doing. With that being stated, I want to briefly note something here that we saw online. This statement is to the matriarchs and nobles at Allodium, Moorish Praedium, all everywhere, Ante, Georgia, Ante, Colorado, all of the Moors everywhere. We want to make a statement to you directly because there was a statement, there was a question that was asked out on the public record. And so we're just publishing further. Someone sent us a link to this video about from AMPAG Media, AMPAG Media, about u.n.charter read. First, let us state that, as we stated on the public record, we honor the work that Allodium Moorish Praedium at all territories is doing, because we're honoring all Moors and our subjects. We honor everyone. We honor our estate. We honor all. Okay? We are all one in that we know who we are now. So there was a video on, and they said some things, and I was led to put a comment there. They were talking about the United Nations, quote unquote, and you can go and watch that video if you choose to watch it. So we were just stating that those that people think is a real United Nations, that's not the real United Nations. That's not the real government. Those are not real. They're not real. And so we stated about that, first, we honor your work, and we mean that from our hearts. Please remember that everything that the colonial actors did was done in all capital letters and was never real. Okay, and we're stating this for anyone who thinks that the U.N. from the last era is real. They're not real. And we stated here, we said they were acting. Why? So that we would wake up, stand, observe, remember, know, restate, and govern our estate, which is the whole earth. It says the modern Europeans were never a government, nation, people, nor state. They were actors in the last era. We are to write all law and all treaties by our own hand, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel when our ancestors left a blueprint for us to restate. And when we said that, we're not being mean, we're not being, we've been told that also by our teachers. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we take that to heart. Not as a criticism, but as a truth. We stated here, this is called Reformation, Reconstruction, Renewal, Restitution, Renaissance, and government and recovery. Our ancestors have left a blueprint for us to restate. I said we have always been the original indigenous, ancient, sovereign, divine states united, who are the United States for America, the original indigenous, ancient, sovereign, divine, United Nations, and all other original indigenous, ancient, sovereign, divine people to include Moabites, Canaanites, Israelites, Hamathites, Hittites, Al-Moroccans. We were the original French. We're the original Asiatics. We're the original Africans. We're the original Americans. The original Europeans look just like us. We are they. We're the original crown. We're the original Vatican. We're the original courts, the government, God, the living, and all other living. We're the original and the first of all. And as we show the response that we got, we don't know who responded to this. We don't know who responded, but we honor and we understand where you came from with your response. The response was to our statement was from Ante Media, how much do you make off of the Moorish Americans? That was their response to our statement, to what we stated. We know where that comes from. We know where that comes from. And again, that, from our perspective, this is how we took it. We took that to mean that they're frustrated with people demanding fiat from the Moors. And we say we affirm that. We affirm that. We didn't take that to mean any harm. We don't feel offended by that at all. In fact, we're so glad that you stated that because it gave us an opportunity to state what the work that we've been doing, this whole Congress has been doing. So our response to that was what? Ampag Media 4502, thank you for asking that very important question of how much do we make off the Moorish Americans, we're honored to answer the question. We respond and affirm thusly. We do not accept nor use U.S. Federal Reserve debt notes at all. We don't take that from the Moors. When Moors tried to offer that to us, we said, no, that's not what we want, because we don't use that. We don't want anything. We will to have our own economic empowerment. And I did state that everyone knows that about us, but apparently they probably don't know that about us. So I probably should have thought those statements through before putting it there, because they don't know, or else that question would not have come up. So that we take responsibility for that, because we have to get louder. We said we have our own lawful and legal money that we use earthwide. In fact and at law, the Moorish Americans have realized their true wealth manifested in this physical dimension with our powerful wealth management system without one fake fiat debt note. Our money is gold and silver and Moorish sovereign dollarium gold receipts. We invite you and all of the Allodium Moorish Praedium Moors to use gold, silver, and Moorish sovereign dollarium as well. Our treasury is the largest gold and silver treasury on earth. And even as I was typing this, the ancestors made that clear to us. Why? We stated right here, which was easy work since no other government is using gold and silver and providing proper receipt for the same. That's why we have the largest gold and silver treasury at earth, because we're providing proper receipt for the same. We love that question, and we love you all too. Peace, peace, peace. Whenever people say things like that, we love it, because we know that it's almost like we could just run with the answer because of the work we're doing. So to Ampag Media, we did not take this as we didn't take it as a war question. We were not offended by the question. We love the question, and the more who ask that question of us, that gives us an opportunity to give our testaments and testimonies and to encourage all Moorish governments to go ahead and use more sovereign dollarium and use gold and silver, because it's doable. See, most people didn't think, and I will say that when I first woke up, and I've said this before, I've asked our ancestors, how in the world are we going to do all of this? How are we going to do it? They said, one day at a time, one step at a time, just keep your energy clear and clean, don't war, and we'll give you the answers from within you. Because see, our ancestors, when they speak from within us, all of us. There's no some pie in the sky out there in the middle of the universe somewhere. It's us, all of us. And so we're honored by the question, because we have not, listen, we did the alternating current thing. We weren't looking for things to come in to us from the Moors. We were looking to give. And the ancestors gave this Congress a way to grant and to give to the nation. Because I didn't do it by myself. It's all on this Congress. This is a powerful, vibrant, high-reigning, noble God Congress. We voted on everything that had to do with our economic power and authority. And we just went through it step by step, creating along the way. We know that many do not see yet how to do what we've done, which is to make gold and silver and Moorish sovereign dollarium meet and become one. But we've done it. This Congress has done it. And we any governments out there, any Moorish governments who want to know how we did it, we encourage you either to go back and look at the videos, or we will be happy to assist in any way that we can, so that your economic authority and power, which is, we all have it, can be manifested through you. Because that was the one area, that was the tough part from the last era that we thought was tough, until we realized how our ancestors have meant for us to do it. And at this time, we're also putting together the American BRICS nations, being the nations that use gold and silver and lawful and legal money to do commerce. We're putting that together. We introduced it in the last Congress. And so we are encouraging all Moorish governments to just continue doing what you're doing, and you know, where the economic piece is concerned, you can look at what we've done, because we put it all on the public record. We didn't hide anything. It's all out here on the public record by this Congress. So with that being stated, we honor AMPAC Georgia. We honor all of the Allodium, Moorish, Praedium governments. No matter what state you are at, we honor you. And if anything that we can do to assist, we are here to do so, Islam. And thank you for that question, because that's energy for us, Islam. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom from this Congress?
Islam. I wanted to say honor for how you did that demonstration. I've been questioned a lot about Allodium, and by people that don't necessarily understand what it is and how to use it, or what's its purpose, or why it was even created. So I really, really appreciate that demonstration, and I give honors and gratitude.
Thank you, Empress. We were so excited when we saw the question. We were like, yes, we get to say it. We get to tell someone else that they have the authority to not be bound by U.S.fiat. We're showing the very process on the public record. It requires that we come together and be one. Put the votes on the public record. Publish and activate that public treasury, which we've done. Period. So, are there any other questions, comments? Thank you, Empress Napi, so much for that.
Islam, you're welcome.
No one thought it could be done. And we did it together. This Congress. No one thought we could do that. It's already done, because we've already taken in gold and silver and issued more sovereign Allodium receipts for it. It's done already. All we have to do is keep going. Keep doing what we're doing. We've already set the standard.
Islam, Empress, I wanted to say one of the things that made it extremely familiar to me is because I was taught by my elders, and I saw them do some of the same things. And I'm grateful for that experience, because when you do things, it's familiar to me. And when other people say, well, this is strange, she's doing this, she shouldn't be doing this. I've seen my elders do it. I had the opportunity as a young girl to sit up under them and see them do some of the same things. So when they changed the out currency, remember when they asked for all of the quarters or the dimes or the nickels that were real silver? I had the opportunity to watch what my elders did. They actually took a lot of that in and kept it instead of turning it in. They taught us as young heirs, don't throw these away, don't give these away. So I have a habit of looking at coins to make sure, is this real gold, silver, or copper? So I was taught that as a young age, and then saw what they did when they had our family meetings. So I am grateful that you are doing, that you started this and that you started doing it, because it just reminds me of what I was taught by my elders.
Islam, Empress, and I will say I'm gonna bounce that. I'm gonna acknowledge and accept, and then bounce that to our teachers as well. Grand Sheikh Taj, Tariq Bey, and RV Bey Publications, Empress Ante L, Empress Zalil L, who wrote some powerful documents. Empress, let's see, Empress Ante L, Empress Zalil L, Empress Rosmariah V. Bey. Just and of course our Grand Sheikh Taj, and then all we had to do was come together like we've done, and keep our energy clear. And I'll say this about keeping energy clear in conclusion of this particular meeting, this particular Congress. The success where Moors are concerned comes when we keep our energy clear. And that is why those fake voices that come and try and they're looking for frequency. They're looking to disturb and remove and distract in the energy, because they know that our answers come from clear energy, not anger, not frustration, not war, not any of that. Our answers come from clear energy. Because when we clear our energy, the answers have been within us the whole time anyway. But when we clear our energy, you'll have so much information coming at you that you won't be able to sleep. And most of you have experienced that, where so many answers were coming. Yes. To where you're like, I got to get up and write this down so I can remember it, and then I'll try and get a few minutes of sleep, and then I'll, we were that way for years on end at a time, and fortunately our ancestors gave us the energy to make it through those years until we learned how to balance out the energy and the information, and make it so that, okay, when it's time to get some rest, just get some rest, and then and when you wake up, there's going to be this big giant answer to whatever it is you were asking for. And again, I'll state, as we close this particular Congress, Moors, listen, the windows of heaven are wide open. Anything that you thought you were missing is coming to you. More than one. More than one. I don't care what it is. It can be domiciles, conveyances, clothes, shoes, food. Whatever it is coming to you in spades. Many, many. I'm just saying. So don't worry about where you're going to put it all, because the system will make it so that you have a place for everything to go. And everything will be in its proper place as you enlarge your territory, or enlarge the knowledge of your territory. It's coming. With that being stated, we will adjourn until Thursday, right, at 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam.
Grand rising.
Islam.
Islam.
Gratitude.
Thank you for your
Islam. Grand rising.
Indeed, Islam. 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 Peace and love.
Thank you, Empress.